Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sound Equals Concept Remaster Live, where we will remaster Sound Equals Concept live. Hello, I'm Alex. This is my first live stream, and I'll be honest, most of you are friends, which is awesome. But if you know me from YouTube, you probably know me from my Sound Equals Concept project, which is a trilogy of soundtrack albums that I worked on. That's also my first music project. And it's funny I say that because Sound Equals Concept started out as a trilogy. And the more I've worked on it, the more I've realized that it's more of a united project. So we'll get into things in just a moment, but first off, hello everyone. How's it going? Feel free to sound off in chat. And I'll just keep talking. Sound Equals Concept started out, I imposed a few rules for myself as I started working on it as a united project, because I made all of the tracks individually I started them all at the same time, basically. So I didn't start with the first one, I started with all of them. For example, Dark Theme, right? On the second album, that was the first song I ever made, and I'm happy that that made the cut for the final project, since it being kind of a milestone. So one of the rules I imposed was that all the tracks were going to be 2 minutes, and they would all be a multiple of 120 BPM, right? And that's really easy to edit videos to, because it goes along with seconds. Another rule I imposed was I made them all in GarageBand, which is, some people tease GarageBand sometimes. But I think... Wait, can you hear me? Okay. My microphone coming through, hang on. I'm gonna double check. Hello? Oh, wait. Oh, sweet. Okay. I have a backup pair of headphones where now I can hear myself. That's cool. Okay. Sweet. For a second, I was getting paranoid that I was talking to myself. Okay. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yes. Okay. So some people tease GarageBand for being... Oh, hi, Ian. Some people tease GarageBand for being like an introductory program, but I've always thought of it as like a songwriter's program, right? It has all of the tools that you need, all of the most essential parts. The one place it falls flat is production and mixing, right? But you don't need that until the end of the process. So Sound Equals Concept, when it started, the point was the expression, the idea, the practice. It was an experiment. Since then, I've learned more about mixing and about mastering. So I think an important part is I want to capture the core of what Sound Equals Concept is as a project. I don't want to wash out its imperfections, because that's what gives its character. But I also think it could sound better. Part of that will be uploading to YouTube a better way, because YouTube helps itself to flattening things out sometimes. But the other thing is, I have Logic now, which, for those of you who don't know, is kind of an upgrade from GarageBand. So I can actually pop in there. Ah, there we go. That should be working. So, wait. Are we in Logic now? Can you see Logic? Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is, I've transitioned it's very nice. You can upgrade GarageBand into Logic pretty easily. So this is our first stream, but not the last. Today I want to work on Town Theme, first track on Sound Equals Concept, and for the next while, I'm going to go live every week and work on remastering a new track off Sound Equals Concept. So here's our first one. Here it is. If you know the project, it's okay if you don't. This is the one. I'm going to start by playing through it, and then I have some ideas for how the remaster can go, how we can add some parts. It won't be a perfect remaster because there are still some elements to add, and that would act sort of like a remix, rather, but not exactly a remix. So I'll be adding some elements and changing things up, but I really want to keep the heart of things. So I'm going to play this, and yeah. Darn. System overload. Okay. Beginning again. That goes away pretty quickly. Okay, I noticed that my audio is not connected, so let's see how I could fix that. So I'm hearing it on my end. Thank you for pointing that out. It looks like there's a bit of a delay to Logic, so I'm just going to swap over and close Logic, and I'll try to start it up again. It's going to be pretty important for you to listen to what I'm playing. Alright, starting up again. It would probably help if I close my myriad of tabs. I have a strange suspicion that just like slightly breaks everything that's going on. Alright, let's see how it. Hey, okay. We have logic. Logic's here. Looks like my scene swaps are a little bit slow, but that's okay. We have logic. Okay. Let me know if you can hear this. Oh man, great. Okay. So I'm going to go in. I know where it's connected, so I'm going to try to mess around with some stuff. Thank you for being patient. Let's see. we go. Let's try. Video capture. Aha, an audio capture. That seems like the right place. Let's grab Logic Audio. Ooh, okay. That did something. Let's try it again. Wait, set it up right. There we go. Okay, let's see if this works. Sweet, yes, okay. Ah, excuse the error. But, there we go. I'll be quiet now. You can listen while it's working. Thank you. Okay, so there is the existing town theme. What's pretty nice is GarageBand is pretty new, pretty up to date, and these instruments aren't too out there, right? So everything sounds pretty decent as a preset, but it's that last 10% that really makes the difference between introductory and like really finished mixes. So let's take a look at the track. And that'll get into actually changing things, I promise. But here's the little riff. This is the main part. This is on acoustic guitar. What is this? Right. Looks like we're looking at E minor. Right. Let's guess that. So we're in E minor for this part. We can always check the chords. Okay. E minor, E power chord inverted, A power chord inverted, right? So that's going like 1, 4. It's pretty simple. And then we have this little piano riff. moving in thirds. That's it's going like a minor major third. That reminds me of like farming simulators. It's, especially if those fast chord changes. I guess it's up to debate if those are actually considered chords, but more of a harmonized melody. But and then strings play the melody for a little bit of it. Piano goes. Drums are doing a really simple back and forth beat. So one thing I noticed right off the bat is I would like to add some more fills, because like these transitions, I want more energy. I want a little more punch. Right? Like I could see something more going on there. And then we have the hardest instrument. Okay, there may be harder ones. vocals. Okay, the hardest one is vocals. The second hardest instrument to do in MIDI, like the digital notes, is electric guitar. So a little off. I think there's some ways we can fix that. This particular setup has a pretty nice overdrive, so add a little overdrive, that'll help. And then this is an arrangement thing I did a lot early on to change things up, were these like minor flips at the end of the song, adding like a weird element like this. So there's a piano riff, and if I'm not mistaken, yep, it's a chromatic, so we're doing a line cliche. It's like the James Bond theme is what I always think of when I think of line cliches. So that adds kind of a dark sound. Over here, we have a harp lead in. I love harp. I noticed that the harp only plays in this section, so I think it would be cool if maybe this harp played throughout this whole thing. I'll decide what that'll play, but I think that can add a little bit of dynamics. You can also see all my panning is like dead center. I'm very picky about where my panning goes, so if something's off balance in my ears, it drives me nuts. So I am not very courageous when it comes to panning, so I think that'll be worth doing. And something you may have noticed, something I definitely noticed now, is none of the first two, maybe a little bit in the second one. The first sound equals concept has basically no bass, because I admit I had no idea how to use bass at the time. It's not the obvious thing that you hear. And I actually did this with like no music theory idea of anything, so working off intuition, bass isn't the most intuitive until you understand like chords and simple things like that. But again, I did it more by ear. I think it could benefit from some bass to capitalize on that low end. So step one, this is a simple thing that helps me stay organized. Color coding the tracks. A particular way I like to do it. I like the drums red, and I like the bass orange, and then like mid-range instruments. Like say this guitar is kind of doing the lead, but it's really backing up the playing harmony notes. So I'm gonna make that yellow. I'm gonna make this piano. That's also, oops. There we go. Make that yellow. This is playing the lead part. So let's say we leave it green, and then the high end, to me, is blue. Yeah, there we go. And then harp, that's doing a lead part, so that would be there. This is just like housekeeping stuff, basically. It's doing a lead, so let's do this is my process. If you don't know in Logic, you can just do C and then N, and it will color code and name all of your tracks. So there, nice and organized. Step two, should we start with bass? Oh, it's a good question. Sorry, I got distracted. I wasn't looking at chat. I don't know when you sent that. One-time purchase. Always, it's always worth it. I think Logic may be one of the best investments I ever had. This is totally worth it. Yeah, and I think about a lot of things permanently, so usually permanent one-time purchases are up my alley. Yeah, so let me know. Should we start with bass, or should we add more harp? Because I think it'll be best to add elements first, and then start getting into like the tone of everything, and then getting into the mix. Because honestly, on this song, it's pretty simple. You can see there aren't a ton of tracks. I mean, there are some. I've been working with more tracks recently, so this doesn't feel like a lot. Everything is already, let's see, I pull up the EQ. See, like, this is already a pretty nice mix. So these fit together where they belong. So, right. I love this dark lo-fi piano. It's almost like an in-joke about how much I love it, but it's okay. It's worth it because I like it. So let's just jump in on bass. I did all of Sound Equals Concept on MIDI, and there are a few like stock sound effects on it. It's so cheap, but I think it's important that this songwriting shines through, and I think it's valuable to work with. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes, if you work with simple instruments, the song can shine for itself instead of being the polish on top. Anyway, bass. All right. I don't know. There's some different options for bass. Most of what I used later on, I know that I believe Dance Theme has a synth bass. Race Theme has an electric bass. I am personally a fan of many different basses. I think upright bass could be fitting, but I feel like maybe this could be an electric bass. Particularly, there are two. There are like 3 levels in here. Oh, question: do you write music directly in Logic, or do you play the instruments first and then just write the notes in Logic? That's a good question, and it totally depends on what the thing is. I'll level with you. The harder, like the more complex the idea is that's going on, the more likely I am to work in Logic, just because my actual instrument skill isn't great. Like that's not what you're here for. That's not what I'm here for. So usually, what I've been doing recently, all of this I did in Logic and a little bit on piano. I wrote everything on piano. At the time, I didn't play anything else. Now I also play drums and bass, and that helps a lot with the rhythms. So that's how I wrote Sound Equals Concept. What I've been working on recently, I do differently, where sometimes I'll just try to like jam something out, right? A lot of the hook part is an idea. Often it comes from a particular lyric. I've been working on music with lyrics, so maybe a bit, but you'll see some some songs with lyrics, and hopefully with a decent singer on them. Maybe me. Oh no, shudder. What was I saying? Oh, I'll usually write down an idea, and then to make it, it's important for, especially for the projects that I'm doing, for them to feel a little bit live and feel a little bit, at least like each piece is its own distinct piece. And I think an important part of that is making sure that each distinct piece feels like it's being played by someone. Some of the parts are challenging, but if it feels like it's physically possible to play, that's important. So usually I like writing bass lines a good deal. So if I have the idea, I'll note it down in Logic, right? Just like drawing in notes digitally, right? Or I think of a chord progression. Like, wouldn't it be cool to start on like the recently I've been starting a lot on the flat 7. Like, it's a weird one, but it works. So yeah. Oh yeah. Working with your own vocals is hard. Even I'm glad that I can't hear the playback of myself unless I switch headphones, because I would not be. I'm barely able to work and talk at the same time. I don't think I could listen to my own voice and work and talk at the same time. Yeah, we'll see about that, but I just need practice. So usually to make an instrument feel live, it just takes like kind of grooving it out and actually trying to play it and seeing how I would naturally play it, seeing what I kind of hear for the next place to go, and that often is kind of the next step in writing things. Thank you. Okay, so let's see where the bass should come in. I think I have an idea where I want it to come. Okay, I like kind of the starkness of the intro, right? I used to, I think I still do, tend towards stark intros, like with maybe one lead, something a little bit dry. I like the sound of these drums with no bass, right? They kind of take, it's kind of like an alternative sound in my mind. But I think this moment could feel larger. Instead of adding one element, what if we added two? So this is the, oh wait, I'm gonna color this. This is like a really easy way to make a bass line because bass, if you don't know, the highest note is usually the melody. You can have like really high end, and sometimes that, if you make it like quiet and crush it down a little bit, that doesn't overtake the melody. But usually, like here, I guess I can just show it. You can see the highest note on the grid is this lead part, which is, that's what I would consider the melody. And you can move melodies to other places, but basically the melody is your highest note, and that's a bit what voice leading helps with. That's like part of arrangement. But on the other side, your lowest note is your bass note, and that's what almost all the time determines what your harmony is. So whatever I play under this changes what it is. Let's see, like, for example, right, this I see is an E chord. It's the one chord, kind of an obvious place to start. But let's say I'm gonna pull that down. We throw in an A note in there. It changes the sound a lot. And should have started with this. Here is it on E, so this would be an E chord. Right, that sounds about right. If you play it on A, it changes the sound a lot because it changes the harmony. It turns this into what? A sus2, and that's like the sus2 obviously is, or sus2 is already pretty tense, and then A is also the 4. So it's just a different sound. So the bass kind of holds down the harmony. I guess we can think about bass tone. So I'm just gonna play. I like dance clean, right? This is a good preset for a really clean sound. And then if I'm feeling a little more rock growl is pretty nice. Wait for it to switch. Right, there's a little bit of grit in there. And then fuzzy, that's all in. This is maybe my favorite, but you know, you can't do it on every track. Right, so that sounds pretty awesome. It's actually kind of cool. But I feel like this is still supposed to be subtle, because there isn't bass in the original track. This can't become like a bass-led song. So I think dance clean will work. If you don't know, bass notes are almost always single notes and you can play chords on them too, but that's usually more for texture than for harmony. Your mid-range is where you usually play chords like these. This is, I mean, it's almost a chord. It functions as a chord. But we can start by trimming these down to single notes. So right now, I think this would work. Right, and that's actually kind of nice. I like playing upper, like higher up chords on the bass. That's kind of nice. Nice alternative to the guitar, which there's a lot of guitar stuff out there. So this would be like the really expected way to go about it. That's nice, right? Maybe go down a little bit. The whole thing is mixed pretty quiet. And then we'll turn up the low end. Maybe even go down. There we go, that's sounded about right. I can just switch octaves, so the same harmony, different octave. Let's see, so these are power chords. They're also inverted, so traditionally inverted chords, you would play a different bass note, and that's what inverts them. But also, to me, I don't love inverting chords too much, especially not. Usually you'd invert like one chord in between because it's kind of unstable. So starting and like going all the way through with fully inverted chords with the bass notes. Remember, the bass note defines the chord. So like you can just hear it. This is what it would be switched around. So these are inverted chords instead. Cool sound, actually, but not really like, I don't know. This song, to me, feels, there's a sense of mystery, right? It's in minor, but it's also supposed to be like warm and comforting, and that's what the town theme is supposed to be. If you don't know, sound equals concept is, it's a soundtrack for a video game, but there is no video game. It's based off of tropes of video game music, which I really like personally, and was really inspired by making this. So, for example, Town Theme, it's supposed to be the theme song for the, like a kind of a tutorial level, right, in the town before you leave. This is for like a fantasy kind of adventure. So it's supposed to be kind of comforting. So I think it'll be best if we don't invert. You know what? This is a really simple 1-4 motion. It goes 1-4-1-4. 2 chords. It's very simple, very functional. Those are 2 very functional chords, so you can just do that. I think we may have an opportunity to add a little more color because I'm thinking about this on the fly. So excuse me if I change my mind along the way, because sometimes, actually most of the time, you don't know until you hear it if the idea is any good. So where I'm going with this is, we can do just these notes, but like I was saying about inverted chords, you can throw them in between, and they feel unstable, but that also moves you forward. So we have this loop. It's pretty popular modernly to do 4-chord loops. This is just 2 going back and forth. So to give it more of a 4-chord kind of thing, I could change one of these. For example, let's just put this on B, right? So now this is like, you could think of it as being inverted. I would really categorize this as more like B sus4, which really wants to go to B. That's not a good choice. I'd really prefer it to be a sus2, because those are a little nicer to work with. So you can put it on D, and then remember, this is our bass note. So what we're really playing is, wait, did that wrong. Oh, silly me. That would be like a D. D sus 2 6. That's a weird chord. Weird chords are good, but we don't really have enough harmonic information. That might just sound weird. So let's try this. Let's just listen to it and see how it sounds. Ooh, that's nice. Okay. Oh, what key do you prefer playing in when playing piano? That's a good question. I'm going to be really, really lame here and just say C major or any of the modes of C major because I'm not great at piano. I'm I love music theory and I love songwriting, but I'm not technically like great at piano. um so like uh the only other key that I'm really comfortable in. I also write everything unless like this I did by ear, right? Starting off. So I did it in I I literally did it on this MIDI keyboard. Like that, just messing around. Um so unless I do something like that uses different notes. This is actually I was probably thinking it was playing in C major, um, or in some part of C major, um, but then I didn't use the second, which would change everything. But yeah, the other one that I sometimes play in is C minor, and actually pretty rarely do I even switch that one around. But I can usually pull off C minor too, but almost always it's just the white keys, which is very simple. But I also like to then pitch things around a lot and to find which key is best for it. So yeah. um yeah, so this is an interesting sound. I don't know if it's right. It feels a little bit like a change from the original track or the original intention. So I'm trying to think about if it's worth the change or if it's interesting enough to like warrant the change. So I'm just gonna listen to it a few times. I don't know. It's very dark. Yeah. What is B? That's oh, I guess it's the minor 5 in minor. So that's kind of a dark place to go. What would be like a? I could get really crazy. Um, go to G, just because the G note would be the relative major, and it would just see how it sounds. What is this then? Like a G6. That's more like E inverted, but let's pretend it's G6. Okay, it's not great. I think I'm overcomplicating things. That's crazy. Um, I think this is good. Simple, and let's see if there's a groove to find. This melody is pretty syncopated, so say cut it up. Oh wait, that's like a really simple tresillo. That's kind of nice. Rhythmically, very simple. Okay, and then let's see. What if we just mirror that? Kind of cool. I don't know. It's taking away from the original track. I think maybe just keep it simple, right? That works. I think it works. Keep thinking about it. So let's try a drum fill right in this spot. Usually it's pretty easy to just sound out a drum fill. Like, you can put nonsense on a keyboard on drums, and that sounds pretty close to a drum fill, and it's pretty easy to fix if you have like a little bit of intuition or a little bit of experience. Luckily, we have a drum fill right here, so I think that's nice. I think I like that. So let's just pull it back here and just do the same thing over. Right, and that kind of pulls you into the next part. I think I can get behind that. So what if, whoa. See, I'm gonna arrange things manually so I won't have to pull that out. What if we do like a really slow octave part? Let's just see if that works. I think this is, yeah, that's your low E strings. That's the lowest you can go on bass. Unless you tune down, which is, I don't like tuning different ways. That's nice. I think that's nice. That'll work. Okay, so see if we can do another fill here. Same fill. I should actually check if there are more fills to repeat, just for consistency. That looks like the one. Oh, there's one at the end. That one's special. I remembered that one. And they're actually very similar. Is that just doing like a... Oh yeah, it's a tom instead of a kick. So that's not really much of a difference. Let's run with that one. Let's say we put it here. Okay, so does the bass work under the piano part? Okay, that actually really clarifies the piano for me, but I think the octaves are a little much for this part. And then no bass. So we're gonna bass again. Nice. I say we amp it up for this spot. We have some subdivisions to work with. Very simple. Actually hearing, maybe it should go more like, I always do this on bass lines, do like this offbeat thing that really syncopates it, but then all of my bass lines start to sound the same, so then I have to force myself to not do it. Okay, that sounds so much like other stuff I've done. You'll have to be patient until that stuff comes out. How about just one? I like it. I think it's killing the existing groove, which is a little dry, but I think it's how it's supposed to be. So let's just mirror what's going on in the piano. And let's tend to this guitar, because the guitar, it could be sharper. It needs some fixing. So to start off with, what are we playing harmonically? Playing an E, playing an A, an E. This kind of stuff is all over sound equals concept. These really like single note things, and then the last one is a chord. A weird choice. I think it adds character. And I think what really adds character is this last chord is a D chord over A. And what are we doing up here? So this is actually kind of a, well, that's a weird one. Wow, okay. So that's like a D sus2 sus4. Huh. That's kind of cool. What if we just go to D for the last one? Just try to clarify. That's kind of nice. I think I like that. How does this work over other stuff? That is kind of nice. I think we've discovered something here. Does the groove work here too? I think it does work. But let's close up these gaps so it's not so much of a jump. I do that jump a lot too. Those little breaks. That's just kind of naturally how I play. But we can't have it all sound the same. You know, there's a difference between having a style and doing the same thing every time. So let's actually try this D note all over and see how it sounds as the last note. I like that. I feel like that moves it forward. So what are we playing again on here? Okay, so that, yeah, it's a D sus. Yeah, honestly, this would probably work better. Let's pretend. I'm just gonna mess around here. This would probably be better resolving to an A chord. Right, that's nice, but it's not really what we're going for. So, are we going here again? E, and then we're coming from D. You know, and it shares two notes. Wait, does it? Gotta correct myself there. No, yeah, it has E, but it doesn't have A. Okay, that's fine. It shares the E, so I think that's kind of like a different trick. There's some different motions you can use in chords. Usually, you would move by diatonic degrees. So that's what we're doing here, right? We're moving down to the 4 because, you know, 1, 4, and then we go down a whole step to like the 7 in minor, or the major 7 in minor. And then you can, it's not really moving, but you can also connect things just with through notes. So if I play E on all of these, that binds it together in a way. It does also stagnate it a little bit, but I think this is moving around in weird ways, so it helps hold it together. The other motion is chromatic motion. That's really fun and kind of jazzy, and it's easy to make chromatics sound silly, and if you use them really well, the better you use them, I'd say, the more cool they sound. Anyway, so now we have this part. This is nice. I'm feeling another subdivision. How about here? It's not. That's not where. Oh, is it here? maybe, that I'm hearing it. Okay, what if it's short? Should we kill the legato feel and just... I don't know. And maybe just do that little chop on the up note? Or on the first one? Huh. I think I can get behind that. Sweet. And then, yeah, that'll go there. Oh yeah, this guitar. I got distracted. So, what are some tricks? This is more into the production side. I realize I've been going for a while and I haven't really done any remastering. This is just adding parts to the song. But, you know, it has to get done. So, let's listen to this. Right, instantly we have some more clarity. I'm gonna turn that down the gain. If you like crank your drive, this is the drive or the overdrive. I don't know if it's exactly overdrive, but overdrive sound to my ears. The more you crank it up, the better it sounds in MIDI. The less gain you put on, the more like clean sound. It doesn't sound as good in MIDI. So I don't want to turn it up too much, but I also want it to sound a little better. So this is like gain 100. It's kind of ridiculous, right? It sounds fine, but it does the individual sound is fine, but it doesn't sound great with like the notes it's playing or the song. So let's turn it way down. Okay, so that's feeling a little better. I want to do something. I like these single notes, right? That's how it's supposed to feel. But I wish, really where you get this dissonance is from power chords, or you can do inverted power chords, like, right? That's kind of a dark sound. These power chords are what rub up against one another, or even octaves really give the dissonance of the overdrive something to work against. So let's just start by turning these into power chords, because we know what chords we're working with. And let's even just mess around and do an inverted chord. I love it. It's kind of an old pump technique for fast playing, but it doesn't matter what kind of inversion or what, even if you go into like little thirds or even like seconds, these really tight intervals, they don't work great on distortion, but when you're playing really fast, just put the notes as close as possible. So it helps. So let's just try it like this and see how it sounds. It's fine. It's losing the character. Let's put these down. Maybe it's important to remember the melody is the highest part. So to keep that contour, we'll need to keep those as the highest notes. And then our bass is, here's a thing about Logic, and I want to say most DAWs too. The bass notes are actually an octave lower than they say. So when you look at this, like you'd think maybe this is our bass note right on guitar because that's really low. Bass is up here. We have to pretend that the bass we're hearing is actually playing this note, right? And the bass we're hearing right here is playing that note. So this is still our bass note, and then we're doing the inversion. So that's a little better. I confess, I did not know how to write for guitar in the least. I heard that distorted sound. It was sucked in from the moment I heard it. This is a really common rock technique. Just do 2 guitars. Normally you want different takes. I don't have different takes, so we're gonna have the exact same take. Do 2 copies, or an original and a copy, and just pan it left and right, and it sounds really wide. Right, sounds pretty good. This can go. I don't know if I want to go wider. 40's a nice 2/3, and then I'm gonna grab these and turn them down because since you're playing 2 of them, it'll be twice as loud. So if you pan them all the way out, that usually changes. If you turn them down, or if you pan them all the way out to the sides, usually you don't have to turn them down as much because you're hearing like a little more than half the sound because you're only hearing it. Say like I have headphones. If you pan it all the way left, you only hear it in your left speaker or your left headphone. So you're still hearing half the frequency. Oh, okay. Are the MIDI instruments in Logic the same as GarageBand? Almost. For example, in here, I started in GarageBand and uploaded to Logic, or like upgraded to Logic. I don't think you can go back to GarageBand usually, but it's really easy. You can, if you just open the GarageBand file, it'll save a copy, and this is it. Then it works. So all of these instruments in here, like you can see, the new one I added has this really clean, like vector icon, and then the rest are images, which is a little clunkier, a little kind of an older look. But those are all from GarageBand, and I think all of these in Logic. So Logic has instruments from GarageBand. Logic has more instruments too. I actually don't. They have some different basses. That's kind of nice. I didn't really notice that too much when I switched because I wasn't even working with bass that much when I got Logic. The one in Logic that GarageBand really should have but doesn't is, I believe, the no, maybe it has vibraphone. I know that I really missed vibraphone. No. Oh, it's harpsichord. There's no harpsichord somewhere in like this section, like the orchestral section, if I'm not mistaken. It's like yeah, okay. The harpsichord has the coolest sound. You're like seaside sound. And GarageBand doesn't have that one, so it was worth it, almost just for the harpsichord, because I love the harpsichord. So yeah, the instruments are mostly the same. There are a few more. There are also like there are things I don't use that much. I confess I have some presets that I kind of stick to, but like there are a million electronic drum kits. That's not really my sphere to dig into. I'm sure that someone is enjoying all these drum kits, and I recognize a few that aren't in GarageBand, but GarageBand has a bunch too. So there's a bit of a difference, but these translate for one, especially the common ones. Like there's just like one harp, right? And the harp sounds great, works on everything. Yeah. So, where were we? Oh yes, okay, so we did the guitar part. Let's just see how the arrangement works here. Ooh, okay. That's okay. Okay, it's nice. It's dark.
Okay, this is a good time to bring in bass, because this piano, I love the dark lo-fi piano. It doesn't have a great bass. What am I... It's the same chords? How's that working?
Because then I'm also doing a line cliche. Okay, so there's an E. That's normal. There's a D. We did the D before. That's weird. That's like a... What is that? A 6? Okay. Oh, that's just a third. Okay, so... Those chords aren't quite right. I like that they're dark. Those are also very low. So that's kind of what the bass is on this. So I don't like this chord. I think we'll change that chord. I don't like that chord either. Just discrepancies. I'll forgive myself for not knowing any music theory or music. So, this piano's kind of low to do tighter harmonies. Like the lower registers don't do well with tighter harmonies. Let's just see if it works though. Oh, that's like a second. That's... Oh, maybe it would be better if this were actually just a third. And then play an A. Another A. Oh wait, that's not... Maybe not. Oh, that kind of works. I think that'll do. And then... Or you know... What if this whole thing just switched? Went to C sharp. That's not quite the walk down that I'm feeling. Like, well, what if the bass goes along with this? So like this is D. And it looks like it's about time to wrap up, but I started a little late, and I wanted to go for an hour, and I did a bunch of talking in the beginning. So if you're all happy to stick around, I'll go a little longer and at least get through the writing part of the song. I'm gonna admit, the remaster portion may be a little bit boring for stream. I was worried about that when I started, and doubting myself here. Adding parts, I think the first 10 tracks definitely need stuff like this. Little bits of rewrites. But then there's also just the tweaking part of like going in here, and it's like, what if it was like that, 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 that? Like, come on. No one's sticking around for that. I won't put you through that. I'm gonna do that stuff off screen. By the way, if anyone likes the existing sign equals concept, first off, thank you. Secondly, it's not going anywhere. Keeping up all the videos. That is part of the journey, right? And I love all those songs. That's why I'm working on them right now. But I want to put out a new version with better audio quality. I'm gonna turn up all of the audio. I tried doing that. I think if you listen to the YouTube video for Town Theme, there's like part where it peaks out. I think it's just this harp part that starts peaking. It's just a little. Actually, maybe it's like a low note on this piano in the end. It starts peaking. I made the mistake. I wanted it to be louder than it was, so I turned it up past 100%, which is already doesn't sound like a great idea when you say it out loud. So that gave it some nice peaking, and then I quickly went in and fixed everything, but I had already put the video out, so I was a little obsessed with keeping that up. So audio is not perfect, so fix that, and find a way to actually turn up the audio so that YouTube, when it like packs things down into the way it wants things to be and not too loud and stuff, which is, I guess that's okay. No one wants to blast their ears out. I'll make sure that I control that audio level and do some tests so that it gets a really clear mix, because the ones that are out they sound okay, but like it's annoying to have to turn up your volume every time you listen to like that one song. So that'll be one thing. And then all of these little changes that make things better, I want to put those all out on the remaster. So come join me for this. You can see it, or if you want to watch it later, if you're really that invested that you want to watch it when it's not live, go for it. The live streams will be up on my channel. So yeah, it looks like this is headed towards. See, yeah. So here's the chromatic motion. I forgot that this was in the song, but this is the chromatic motion. That's the other option, right? So these notes are all through notes, and we're playing that E minor chord. And then it's not a perfect actually walk down, but this is actually pretty common. It goes 1, 7, and then the in between is the normally minor has a flat 6, and this is the not flat 6, and then there's the flat 6. So that's nice. I like that. The piano on this one, it's not great. What if this just goes? Oh, it's kind of crazy. Let's just go to a G. That's a C major chord, and an E that would be the major flat 6, or normally it would be major in minor. So the flat 6 in minor. That is very happy. I don't love that. Oh, okay. We're already doing chromatic motion. Let's swap it around. Make it minor. You know? Oh, wait. Whoops. There we go. Okay. Just make it minor. That's weird, but is it good weird? Or dumb weird? It's always the question with these things. I'm leaning toward dumb weird. Okay, so what is this? E6. You know, 6 chord, that can kind of push you back toward the 1. What is the next one? The 1? Yeah. Yeah, so what do we do here? I love, I'm a little attached to this walk down. That's cool, but then that makes this the bass note. So either the bass doesn't always play the bass note, and the lowest note isn't always the bass note if you have enough context, but I don't want to mess with that because it confuses my own brain. So let's first put this back to how it was, which was decent but not my favorite. Maybe that's good. Maybe that's good enough. It doesn't have that strong motion that I'm imagining, which would usually come from switching things up, but then it has to sound the way I'd imagine it would. So what is this in E? In E, that's the 4 chord. Ooh, a minor 4. No, that's a major 4. Oh, major 4. That's always nice. Dorian 4. Except we're playing the 3rd. Let's pull that up. It's kind of a simple thing. Ooh, that's nice. This one is very tense. What if we flatten this? And now that's a weird motion, right? What is that? It's like a Lydian note. That's cool. interesting. Again, now we're playing the third. No, no, that is the third. It's a minor third. And that would be, I would switch it around to be A major. You know what? Let's go with this. What if it were all the same? Yeah, it loses its motion. I think if I were writing this from scratch, I would do it differently. But I think that there's character in what it originally is. We can stick with that. And that is... I hope there's some... that's worth something. Because I'm going to honor it. So, what do we do here now? Is this... Okay, so now we switch back. It's just... the little piano is just in that part. I have kind of a crazy idea. Okay, it's not that crazy. You know what? There's a mistake in here. I noticed this. These two were played at the same time, which would be really awkward to play on an actual harp. So I'm just going to subdivide this so it goes a little bit differently. Hello! And I think I'm actually going to change the subdivision. So this one just goes a little bit earlier, and it kind of has that speeding up thing, which I think I can mirror by copying this. Whoa, I'm zoomed in now. That's annoying. There. Delete that. Don't know what that's doing there. And we're going to grab this and the goal of this is to do a slide, which is I recently learned how to do in Logic in MIDI, because usually slides are like kind of intuitive. Kind of a cool trick. Literally, you just do half step. It's not perfect. It uses a little more attack than you'd usually hear out of a slide. And sometimes it's hard to subdivide them, but like, oh, they're perfect from the 4. Oh. That's nice. That adds to the harp. Woo!
Kind of want this to go to the D now. Having, ooh. Okay, what if now we do the chromatic? Okay, so that's our 5 chord. Over here is, where's the bass note? There. Okay, so that's our D sus2. That's at least a normal chord. There we are playing that weird one again. Oh, but I think we changed it back here. Right, what's our 3rd chord? E and A. Oh yeah, so let's hear this. That's kind of cool.
That's... okay, so that's a change from the original. I still want to honor the original. I really like that sound, because now we're really getting that major 4, that Dorian sound. I don't think we could be in Dorian. Wait, E, and then the 6 is... yeah, we're using the 6th in different places. So it's a interchange instead of an actual mode that's just kind of concealed. But that major 4, that's it's used in different songs, but I think of it as like a superhero sound, because that Dorian 4 is pretty characteristic. It's like in the Avengers theme. That's a really common one, but it's all over superhero music. So in minor is already kind of intense, but then the major is kind of like that bright thing. So this is it. And it is diatonic, but only in the Dorian mode, where you use, normally your minor goes like, right? Dorian goes with the sharp 6. So then you, instead of doing the flat 6, you do the sharp 6, and that's your major 4. Music theory lesson over. I think that really clarifies the tone of things. So I think we'll skip the slide. I'm hearing more groove. So I think there's enough going on that we can fit groove into this and not have it be like someone's playing bass. I couldn't tell. Sarcasm. Let's do the same groove and then see if we can fit some more subdivisions. I'm feeling drawn to that pattern that I always use. Gonna resist it. Be strong. Trying to teach myself to not be the annoying overplayer on the bass. You know, just what's necessary. So far, I do slightly more than what's necessary. So, working on it. Let's change that. What do you say we change it back here too? See how that sounds. Gotta admit, can't say I love it. Yeah, because that's like another inverted thing. I just can't get behind inverted chords. Maybe because I'm just don't have the skills to use them. So, maybe behind every hatred there is learning to be done. There's your wisdom for today. Yeah, so let's put this bass part in. I like the dryness at the end. Right? No bass, no harmony. Well, there's a little harmony. Now there's no harmony. Okay, there's a tiny bit of harmony. 1/3. Let's put this, we'll finish the bass. Maybe a little panning. Let's do this harp line, and then I think we'll be done for today. And that'll be really what completes Town Theme to my ability so far. Who knows? Maybe in a few years, maybe in a bunch of years, I'll want to do this again when I've learned more things and I know how to make things better without taking away from their charm. For now, this is what I know how to do. So, let's just listen through this, and the goal is to listen for where there's a pocket for more, but there isn't like squeezing too much in for what this harp could do. Because this harp line, I think this sounds a lot like Cloud Theme. No, wait, this may be Cloud Theme. Thank you. I didn't realize this. Cloud Theme, I think, Cloud Theme is in D. But, you know, I guess it's walking up the scale. No, wait, this may be the exact same lick as Cloud Theme. If you don't know it, there's another song later on that I think is based around the same little lick as this. And I guess I reused it. Sorry, I didn't realize that. You know, people reuse things sometimes. That's okay. At least I reused my own thing. Anyway, let's hear how the harp might go. right off the bat I'm getting something, and it's a weird idea. Just oh, thank you. And that's a good point. Some of the coolest moments I can actually think of in music is when, like, or reprises, when you bring back an idea. Ideally, you do it intentionally, because personally it feels a little bit cheap. Um, or like, if I choose to do it, it feels like expression, but if I don't choose to do it, it feels like I accidentally, like, ripped myself off. That's a good point. It adds a lot of cohesion. So, speaking of cohesion, let's see if this adds something or, like, ruins everything. Cool, but not at all what I was going for. Okay, no, that is not it. I'm thinking of, like, a gallop, and that's not at all what a gallop is, so I need to remember that. I'm looking at, you saw that in the chords, right? There's a pedal of E. A pedal is like the same note, to put it simply. So we're in E. Usually the one in the key is a really easy note to pedal because it works under most everything. Dark Side of the Moon makes use of the minor 1 to the major 4 a ton, but it's in a different key every time. Yes, that's another good example. I usually think of Dark Side of the Moon doing, like, the major 2, usually in major, but, like, and it goes like, how does it go? Stuff like that. But yeah, the major 4, those, like, I love, I can be very attached to diatonics. So when I discovered doing modal things, it's like the cool way around being diatonic, but also doing weird stuff that isn't exactly on like the basic side. So this is the rhythm I was thinking of. I'm gonna try to repeat this element where it goes down to D. D is the 7. That's a less stable place to sit. I'm actually gonna copy it again so we can hear it a little more. Let's just see if this is terrible. I'm feeling the groove. It's a little bit too distracting. Let's just put it up there. It's cool. I want more. I want more groove. Where's the groove? Perhaps I'm trying to do too much.
But we can always try stuff.
You know what? It's pretty high up. It's competing with the melody. Maybe we don't need harp here. Maybe we need to do more like a lead, or like a flourish. Okay. I'm hearing it. I can hear it.
Want to go down to D. Oh, it's a weird interval. It's cool. I'm hearing the line cliche. Okay, it's not technically an exact line cliche, but I'm thinking of it that way. It's like do 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 do, but not Phantom of the Opera. There we go. Now we're getting the harmony in there. So let's just go to, what's our highest note here? C. Let's do a little half-step motion. That's also a classic. Let's see. Ooh, it's kind of a, what is that, like a lid? Oh yeah, that's like a Lydian, but minor? Weird. I want to push it down. This goes to E. Aha! So what if we do this lick? I think this is going to compete a little bit with the main melody.
Okay, there we go. And then, what chord are we on? I'm just going to do a chord tone on top of these, just because it's a strong metric position.
Let's get even crazier. Chromatic motion. Okay, and then what's our note here? A. Let's just do it one more time. Okay, see if this works. This could be terrible. I was hoping it wouldn't be terrible, but I don't know if I've proved to myself that it's not. Okay, we're going to turn down the velocity, then make it a little quieter. Chromatics sound great on their own, don't really mix with other elements. Right, that's the downside. So let's just pitch these down so they're in key. It's a little better. Right, so, oh, and now we're playing along with this part, so that'll help cohesion. I grab this and bring it down. I like the rhythm of it, it's a little too much. Let's keep turning it down. That helps fit it. And do we dare bring in this opening lick? Ooh. Let's even mirror the opening lick. And we're going to have to go for a chromatic. We see how well the chromatic worked last time. Yeah, it's too much. This'll work. Push this down. And then that's an excellent chord. And I did that wrong. That's okay. Slide it there where it belongs. Okay, here we go. Okay, now I'm even hearing something in the drums. Promise it won't keep working forever. Just throw in a high tom. That adds a little something. Now let's just make it really light, like a 70%. Okay, that's not really light. A little bit lighter. just a little light now. Usually I prefer hi-hats over toms, but I actually didn't use much for hi-hats or crashes. I can't even hear it. That's a mixing issue, a little bit, but it's also maybe just a velocity. And then I want to bring up the energy even more. Let's just grab this fill, copy it over, get rid of that. Oh, there we go. Drag this in. And then what if we do second hit? I can hear it. Just subtly. And now I'll have to redo that part. Oh well. This is how it goes when your workflow is a little bit slow. And I'll solo that. Right now I have like a groove, and then obviously you have to hear the bass with the drums, those interact. Let's even bolden. Is bolden a word? It doesn't sound like a word anymore. Bring out the toms in that section. There we go. Let's even bring this up again, because I turned it down a lot. You know, this is the sort of tweaking that takes a lot of the time, but it's worth it. It makes everything better. And sometimes it makes it worse, and then you know that it's time to stop working on it and don't ruin it. I'm worried I'm going to start ruining it, so maybe I should stop plan ahead and keep working more. You'll see that final version with all of the boring, not fun, tweaky stuff done, because I'm going to do that when I am not trying to be entertaining, slightly entertaining. In the meantime, let's listen to this one last time. Here is the new and improved, slightly improved town theme. Let me know what you think. Final order of business. I need a crash here. And the best kind of crash is a left and right crash, so it's perfectly balanced. And the best crash is also one that's not terribly loud. Should? Maybe not. Maybe the crash belongs here. I don't want to flatten out the guitars too much, but if we do a really low velocity crash on each of these hits, it'll give it some punch. I think we can even do one at the end to bring down the energy. No. Not a chance. Sweet. I'm going to give it a little space in the end. The tracks usually just cut off very suddenly. Right, then it gets a little bit of fade, so it's not too sudden. Yeah, sweet. Chop that. Just to give it space. You know, finding space is a big part in this. We could bring these triggers back, and that'll work on all of these. It'll work here. We already did that over here. So that'll work. Bring that there. Alarm, alarm. All right. Nice and full there. Maybe we'll find some subdivisions or something. In the meantime, I realized that by changing small things along the way, I've dampened the impact of the final listen. But what can you do?
So, thank you everyone very much for coming. Thank you for talking with me. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, I'll see you next week. Same time, maybe a little bit shorter, because the next track, crazily, it may actually have elements coming out instead of putting more elements in to crowd things out. Thank you all. See you then, and just said that. I hope you enjoyed. I will catch you all later.